Yeah. What's good, everybody? It's your boy Chris, aka SSJ Black Crowd, aka the Great One, aka Mr. Muckluck, and this is That's Unfortunate.
Did you
the
say
podcast.
Chris? I always feel like you forget one. I'm sorry.
Yes, I am Chris. This is That's Unfortunate. Your social, it's society and culture. I try to say it at the same time.
Social society. You sound like me when I stumble my words.
Society and culture podcast, and I'm joined by my great. When I say the greatest co-hosts, you got Velvet and Jade.
Oh my god.
Velvet, how you doing?
I'm doing great today. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Follow me on Instagram, VelvetIsabelX, VelvetIsabelX. Whoa, that was a lot. All right.
You're doing great, sweetie. I'm always fabulous, obviously.
Yes.
And you can find me on all platforms at Jade Cooley. Just literally type in my name. That's me. And we're joined by our wonderful. Introduce yourself and let us know where we can find you.
Dominique. And you can find me on Instagram at fatmedusa, FATMEDUSA. And you can find me on TikTok as Green Moth, GR33NMOTH.
You know what I'm doing? Taking a second to follow you on TikTok, which is what everybody who is viewing should do.
You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead.
Your TikTok is
GR33NMOTH. If you can't find it under that, I think it's Trail Snail 2 or something.
I found you. This is her. It's lovely.
All right.
I hope y'all took the time while they were doing it to do it too.
That was your time to do it.
That was your time to do it. We did it all together.
Look at us. We're a team.
My TikToks are cringy, though, so FYI.
I'm here for it. I have nothing on there. I am just a blank profile, but
yeah,
we'll update with the profiles.
We call you watchers. That's what we call you.
This program was made responsible by viewers like you.
Thanks.
So, if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the live show. It's on our Facebook page. Whenever we do these things, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know you had a live show." Like, why didn't you send me a notification? You could do the notification yourself. Go ahead and hit the bell, hit the follow, and put us as favorites.
Yes.
So that we pop up more.
Please.
Come on now. What are y'all doing? Honestly, I don't know if our approach is maybe it's our approach. Are we aggressive?
Do we need to be nicer about it?
Why aren't you doing this?
Do it or we'll punch y'all in the throats.
Wait, hold on. I thought okay, never mind. We'll go with that approach.
I was gonna say maybe they might like that.
I thought
It's 2020. Kinks are getting serious these days.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the icebreaker for the episode. So we've talked about this in like in a certain aspect in a past episode, but I feel like we have to revisit this question. Do you have to compromise your integrity in order to make it in the industry?
And in case you're like me and you don't know what integrity means, which I think it's not speaking of like my representation as a person to not know what integrity is. I'm just dumb.
oh my God.
The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, the state of being whole and undivided.
So last time we asked this, we asked this, in the sense of the music industry, of how like pretty much everyone's sexualized. Men, we sexualize. Women, y'all are sexualizing. Like, and y'all are going for. Go ahead, your wops. Have fun. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. But you do have artists that don't want to do that.
Yes.
And it sort of seems like they're getting the short end of the stick.
And it's not just artists either.
So that's why we're asking it again in this episode. This could be any industry. Do you feel like you have to compromise yourself to make it?
What do you think, Chris? We should hear from you first this time.
Oh, wow. Me, put on the spot.
Chris is like, I'm not ready. Hold on.
So I feel like you. It's like I'm trying to find a middle ground. Maybe like compromise yourself enough where you have a line, where you won't like cross that line. No.
Interesting.
What do you mean?
Interesting.
Like a
Just a little chunks of your integrity.
just chunks.
Like cut yourself into bite-sized pieces.
Wait, can I get an example, please?
Like if they say, like, don't call out the CEO on a racist joke. If you hear it, just let one slide so that you don't lose your job. That kind of like.
that kind of, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I do that at work all the time.
So like if you deal with the public, and you know the thing is the customer is always right.
No.
Like
No.
are they really?
No. I have a very extreme opinion about this.
All right, so what's up?
Dom, what's yours? I want to hear yours first. I have a hot take this episode.
So I would say yes and no. Yes, because you do have to compromise yourself to an extent. Like if you want to appear professional and if you want to keep your career, you can't. I wouldn't say you can't be 100% yourself, but in certain job industries, you can't. Otherwise, you would lose your job. Now, I would say no, because if you do hear somebody say something racist or sexist or xenophobic or anything, you can call them out, but you have to call them out professionally through HR. So I would say still hold your standards, but make sure you're professional about it. So I would say yes and no, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
It does. I get it.
I would say no, absolutely not 100%. I mean, I don't know if it's just because of my personal experience, but I've walked away from family over just because of who I am. I've walked away from friends, lifelong friends. I've been homeless twice. I have been kicked out of stores, been kicked out of restaurants, walked off of jobs, chosen to go hungry to keep my dignity and pride intact because I know what is right and I know what is wrong, and I won't collect a single fucking dirty dollar from somebody who thinks that I'm less than or thinks that another person is less than, or will make excuses for people who continue to give into a system that suppresses us. The only way, I mean, if you want to stop being fed by somebody, stop taking food from them all the time. They're no longer a provider. If you want somebody to stop having power, stop letting them provide for you. Tell them you don't need them and find something else to fucking do. I mean, I have literally kicked fucking rocks on jobs and wondered what the fuck I'm going to do for my bills the next day because somebody made a comment about me or made a comment about one of my employees. Because as a employer perspective, you have to look out for those people. Those are your responsibilities. And I've been in a situation where someone has come up to me as a waitress and said that they didn't want to sit at my table because I'm a tranny. Like, I've had things thrown at me. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, whenever you just take little bits of that, the next person that comes after you is going to have to deal with that same bullshit. Why not just put a pin in it where it's at and, like, call people out?
So what do you think about that as an employee perspective? Like, what if you weren't the boss, just as somebody who works for somebody, what would your answer be for that?
For whenever I was a waitress and things like that happened to me, I've got a wonderful one. And I mean, I don't work there anymore, so I can say the name and everything because I already did it on a live video a long time ago when it happened and they got mad at me and I don't give a fuck. So Ingalls, I worked there whenever I was like in high school. I was I was working at Starbucks at the time. And I was going for a management position up against this other girl whose name I won't mention. And let's just say one of us was qualified for the job and the other one was the one who got the job. I did not get the job. And the only reason why they said was because of our age. They said I was way qualified, but my age was the only reason why. And this girl was calling me a faggot. Behind my back to other people at work, calling me names, making jokes. And so we had a prep room and I basically walked back there and I was like, hey, if you have an issue with me, let me know. Like, if it's about my performance, like, please talk to me about it so that way I can better myself and make corrections. So that way I can adjust to, like, the transition of power. I was like, but if it's about my, like, home life, that has nothing to do with my performance here. And I would prefer you keep your opinions to yourself. I left it at that and I walked away. She told the bosses that I cornered her and threatened her, and they told me to leave. So I grabbed my things and I left. And whenever they asked me if I wanted to come back, I just had to apologize. I told them no. And I quit. Because, like, at the end of the day, I got a job 2 days later at O'Charlie's as a waitress, making more money. And I didn't wear makeup at first when I started working there, and then I started wearing makeup, and he said, wow, you didn't get hired like that. And I said, does it affect my performance? And he said, no. And then I said, okay, then carry on, have a good day. And he never brought it up again. Stand up for yourself. That's it. You can say it professionally and still not have to compromise anything. That is not compromising your integrity. That's actually having more integrity, because you're outright saying that this is wrong. I'm going to say something about it, and I'm going to make people uncomfortable by behaving that way.
Velvet,
Yes.
what do you feel about it?
So I agree with Dominique, and I say yes and no. Like when she said, and like with Jade, if someone is saying something to you, like specifically to you, or like me, or I have a few people working with me, then obviously, yeah, I'm going to say something. But, like, we have plenty of customers who come in and they're like, oh, well, yeah, I support Trump and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to say anything about it because they're not saying anything specifically to me. And, like, it bothers me, yes. And especially with everything that Trump stands for. That's the exact opposite of just everything that I am here for, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to be like, ew, well, you support Trump, get the fuck out of here, blah, blah, well, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to find a middle ground, it's easy as saying, hey, to eliminate a tense atmosphere because of the tensions with, like, our political atmosphere, we don't talk about politics here.
Well, that's why I just changed the subject.
So, I mean, you can just, that's not compromising anything. You're just outright telling people, because, I mean, I believe that people have a freedom to say whatever they want to, because not everybody's going to change, at least, like, they're self-identifying racists. And, like, I mean, you can just tell them, hey, we don't talk about that here.
We just changed the subject.
But I mean, whenever people are outright being disrespectful, like, I've straight up just walked off of jobs. I will take money somewhere fucking else. Somebody else will hire me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone is saying something directly to me or directly to someone that I work with, then yes, I will say something to them and I will get it handled. But if it's like indirect, or if it's, well, not necessarily indirect, if it's like just talk, I guess. I don't know if I'm making myself like clear, I guess. But like, if they're just bringing shit up and they're just trying to talk about it and they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, expressing an opinion.
Yeah, I'll just be like, okay, well, how's the weather? Did you see the Patriots play? How are your kids? You know, just, so I feel like yes and no as far as compromising your integrity.
So
Fuck, I said it again. God damn it. Compromising. Y'all, I swear I know how to speak. I'm just.
So I have a little different, like a different take on it. I agree with both of you, but as a Black woman, it is very difficult for me to get job opportunities a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It takes me years to find jobs. I mean, there's an example when I think I was 20 or 21. One thing that I am confident, I'm not confident in a lot, but one thing that I'm confident in is I am a damn good worker, and I always make sure I do my best, and no one ever gave me the opportunity to show that. And it got to the point where I had no job for about almost 2 years, and then I had to go back to the McDonald's that I worked at in high school because I could not find a job. So when you land a really good job, a job with benefits, full time, and you're not the only Black person in the office, you try to keep that as hard as you can, because you know if you do say something, or if somebody says something to you and you say something back and you lose your job, I may not find another job for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So for me, like, sometimes I do have to compromise my integrity and just put up with it. And it's a sad reality as a Black person in a working world, especially in the field that I'm in, because I am extremely a minority. Like,
Yeah.
I have a chronic illness. I'm overweight. I'm a Black person. I'm a Black woman. I'm bisexual. I'm everything that they don't want to see in that industry. So they can literally do anything, just be extra hard on me, and I will still try to live up to those expectations because I'm not trying to lose my job.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel that completely. Like, before I started painting, I was blessed with my opportunity. Like, it's honestly 1 in a million shot, because I mean, they don't want to see a trans woman where I'm at ever. Nobody really wants to see. I mean, I've been overqualified for jobs, and they've straight up told me, we don't know if you can handle it emotionally because of the backlash from our customer, because of our targeted audience. And I mean, that's them basically just saying, like, I'm sorry, you're great, you have the potential, but you're trans. And that's been an outright, they've said that excuse. So, like, I know exactly what you mean. Like, that shit's scary when you're faced with the fact that, like, when your car payment turns into your rent payment because you're living from it, and you're not even sure if you can pay that, that's a scary reality. And I mean, I've had to take jobs like Waffle House and basically get shit on by drunk people all night long. But I would always tell people, there's a different table, you can pick a different server. Because, like, at the end of the day, there was something that was, like, drilled into my head that, like, I will never forget. And that's, at the end of the day, when you're dead and there's nothing else in the world and it's just you by yourself, are you going to be happy with what you left behind, with all of your decisions? Are you going to be like, how many times are you going to, like, forget yourself for a moment and put up with somebody else's bigotry and be quiet a little bit so that way they can continue to feed into something that killed people before you? That kids are killing themselves currently because they live in a world that, like, makes jokes about their existence, who are being killed by police because of their existence. And you're like, those little tiny jokes add a little bit of a brick for the foundation that keeps us down. And every time that we give into it so that way we can have $1 to feed our fucking selves, we're giving into them too. So, I mean, I would fucking go hungry and do it myself.
All right, so this icebreaker feels like it turned into a topic. We're gonna put a bookmark here and come back to this topic. But this is a really good topic. You know, it's something that I feel like you have to ask yourself every day.
Yes.
Every day you have to ask yourself, like, what direction am I going to go in? So,
And there's also, like, battles you have to pick. I mean, there's like,
Yes.
like I've said, like,
it's like tolerating a lot of stuff. Like, that's huge.
Yes,
You have to
like-
learn how to tolerate a lot.
yes, because, like, I've mentioned it before. There are a few people, like, there's this one specific person I can think off the top of my head. He comes to the salon and he's been a customer for years. And just one time before the first elections,
2016.
before the 2016 elections, he was talking to my mom. He was like, oh, well, you came here legally. And, you know, like, obviously there's so many things I could say and there's so many ways I could have handled that. But I chose to, specifically because he's not my customer, first of all. I was just in the background listening. So me and my mom both were kind of like, no, that's not how. I was like, well, they need to do it the right way. And then we both kind of asked, like, well, do you know what the right way is? Do you know how to do the right way? And his answer was no. And then he kind of just educate. But, like, there's some people where I wouldn't even have had that conversation with them because I knew it was like a dead end wall. Yeah. So, like,
well, I mean,
Chris
don't
said,
argue with people who are dedicated to not understanding you. That's
exactly.
wasting your
That's
time.
what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah. So like Chris
but
said,
I mean,
you
I will
have
make
to
examples out of people. I mean, you got to think, like, me and you both, like, we're relying on our customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody outright says something, I will speak up.
That's what I'm saying. I spoke up,
But, like,
but
so, I mean, you're not compromising with your integrity. So it's not
no,
yes
'cause
and
I
no.
definitely could have answered that way differently.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not compromising with your integrity, because what you believe in is being cordial and respectful to all people.
But
And
had
that's a
somebody
foundation
else
of your
asked me
character.
Had somebody else asked me that, like some of the people that I know still come now, I definitely would have had just shut up and not said anything because
Well, then it would have went
it
nowhere.
wouldn't exactly. So definitely then I would have been compromising, not compromising.
I don't know. I just, like, I can't understand. Like, okay, I've always been, My grandma had a painting of her over the kitchen, and I always felt like every time that I walked by there, I was like being watched, right? And like
That's because you were.
I snuck I snuck something one time. I think I stole something from her house. And I was like walking through the kitchen, and I put it back because I swear it felt like she was watching me.
All right, listen.
So
Bookmark.
like, oh sorry,
Bookmark.
But basically, your grandma's always watching you.
Always.
Don't give up on your integrity.
Listen.
Pick your battles.
Pick them all.
So
Bookmarking.
gonna bookmark. Dominique, how's it going? How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
All right. Thank you for being on this episode. We wanted to talk about just what Black paganism is, or at least what does it pertain to you?
So for me, my version of paganism, I feel like everyone has their own version. For me, it's just deeply rooted in giving thanks to nature and worshiping nature and knowing where you come from. So, as you know, a lot of Black people do not know where they come from because of slavery. Mm-hmm. So I've seen, and a lot of people have seen, a resurgence of paganism in Black people specifically because we're trying to get away from the Christianity that was taught to us by our slave owners. Not saying anything bad about Christianity, it's just that was taught to us from slavery, and having all of our African gods and goddesses ripped from us. Mm-hmm. We're trying to find our way back. Right. And so for me, I don't really work with deities or anything, but for me, it's just mostly about earth, and I know that that's where I came from. That's where I'm going to go when I die. So I might as well, and it's what feeds me. It's what helps me breathe. Like, that's just everything about earth. That's what my paganism is.
Yeah, I mean, paganism is basically, it's defined technically as anything that's not like a modern or like what's modernly popular. So like Christianity, like Judaism, like the mainstream religions, it's all of the ones that break down and worship or work with, I should say, the more ancient deities. Paganism is usually always eclectic, but I think more so for the Black community because it's hard to pin down their history. But I mean, if you do proper research, you'll see that Christianity has basically created a lot of sub-communities of paganism. Like, there are basically, like, I did a little bit of research, and I found out there's, like, Latina paganism. There's European paganism, there's Black paganism, and it boils down to basically what Christianity has done over the course of time, has gone through, and other mainstream religions alike, has broken down the constructs of old faith and reintroduced theirs in place of.
So when someone says, "Oh, that's a pagan holiday," what does that mean?
It means that it's not like, okay, for instance, the best one is Christmas, right?
Yeah.
The northern star is not visible until springtime or summertime, right? Mm-hmm. And it's celebrated in winter. Originally, it was a pagan holiday, and I believe it was about, so I don't forget, honestly. I think it was something sexual, honestly. But no, that was Easter. No,
Christmas?
No, it was Easter. Let me look it up, actually, really quick.
So,
but basically, they were like, no, we don't like that. We're going to change it to the birth of Jesus, because that just makes sense. Like, Easter was basically about the fertilization, and it was basically a day for people to go out and have sex, and to basically have children. It was a day to celebrate the, like, but the thing about, like, paganism...
Wait, this was a civilization that did that?
Not as civilization in general. It was more of a day of, like, celebrating fertility, celebrating, like, womanhood and sexuality, and, like, celebrating... Yes.
No, continue, but I got a question after that.
But basically, a large construct of paganism is not just attuning with the earth, but attuning with the cycles of yourself. Sex is something natural. Christianity is the thing that introduced sex being something sacred. Pagan people believe... I mean, I'm technically pagan. I'm a bruja, technically speaking. And paganism basically like wants you to celebrate your body and to follow what your body needs and to understand the cycles of your body. Like, so when you're sad, be there and be in that moment. When you're happy, be in that moment. And if you want to fuck, go fuck, be in that moment. Like, it's about knowing what your body needs, knowing what your spirit needs, and knowing what's good for you. And it was about the celebration of like women having children.
So, Halloween is a pagan holiday, correct? Before
Yes.
all of its like, you know,
Yes.
culture and skeletons and all that costumes and stuff. So I used to, well, I don't even know if this is true, but I used to tell this to my stepmom all the time. But that Halloween is a pagan holiday, which is just, it was like something about a harvest.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. See, I know what the fuck I was talking about, sort of, kind of.
And I don't know if you've noticed, but and I'm really not trying to down Christianity, like, but Christianity is kind of like the absence of paganism. Like paganism, what you were saying, it's like the celebration of your body and going with the cycles, and Christianity almost tells you to stifle that.
Yes.
And for me, that's just not natural. And I'm not saying that Christianity is bad or anything. It's just I feel like it's been so twisted on what the original meaning of Christianity is, and I don't even know what the real meaning of Christianity is, because it's so contorted by what we've learned from our slave owners. So for me, that's why I just mostly lean towards paganism. That's why I'm just like, I'm gonna worship what I know, and I'm gonna worship what I see and what I know takes care of me.
Right.
See,
Well,
I was gonna say, or you could be like me, and what I believe in, which is just be a good person. Don't be an asshole. How about that?
Yes.
Just
Well,
be chill.
my-
That's what I believe in.
my challenge with Christianity comes from like the squandering of womanhood from the origin. Womanhood was seen as weak because they gave into the evil that lurks beyond the serpent first. They were punished to bear children afterwards. And I have friends who have had children who said it was the most incredible experience of their life. How is that punishment? They were deemed not head of households. They were deemed not worthy of certain respects in a church, not worthy of certain respects in a home, respects in an office. They were second-class citizens within their own home. And the Bible itself does justify that. I'm not going to ignore the parts of the Bible that sit there and say that women who are sexually explored or sexually liberated are sinners and are going to hell. I can't look somebody who goes out and has sex with people and is conscious about that and think that that person is going to burn for eternity because of what they're doing with their own vagina. I'm sorry, I can't think that me as a person, if you are a Christian person and you can look at me in my face and tell me that you think that I'm going to burn in hell for all of eternity for who I am, for me existing, I'm not sure if you can say yes, then I mean, fuck you, first of all. Second of all, if you can say no, then I don't think you're that much of a Christian.
Just like the president who can say grab him by the pussy, but he's still a Christian man with all
that's
these
the
great
thing.
morals.
And how many wives and children
And divorces and baby mamas does he have? And how many?
I was gonna say let Obama have done one of those things.
Oh man,
He wore a
would've.
tan suit and got dragged on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But I mean, honestly, what I've seen basically is paganism has been like a liberation for all of minority communities. Like,
Yes.
there's like, for instance, Papa Legba. He is heavy in voodoo culture, and basically he is like the Latina community has their own, and essentially that's Santa de la Muerte. She's like basically our Papa Legba.
And also, that's another thing I wanted to mention. Voodoo has seemed, or it seems like people brainwashed us to think that voodoo was bad.
Yeah, it's very
that voodoo
demonized.
was evil. Yeah, when it's not. It's just people. We've been taught that from the very beginning. Like, oh, voodoo, like it's some taboo thing.
Voodoo and hoodoo.
It's something that they're pumping into the media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it can, just like church can be evil, voodoo can be dark, but all craft can be dark. Christianity can be
Exactly.
dark. I mean, you've seen cults.
Westboro Baptist Church.
I mean, literally, y'all have so many. The KKK, the Republican Party. But like, I'm sorry, I already mentioned the KKK. So basically, voodoo and hoodoo, like, okay, if you're a Christian, think about how you pray over a church, right? I can't remember if it's exactly voodoo or hoodoo, but basically it's broad praying, right? One of those is voodoo, one of those is hoodoo. And the other one is specific praying, so you're praying over a member. And I believe that that's what hoodoo is.
I think you said earlier.
Yeah, I believe that's
voodoo.
what hoodoo is. But basically one is one and one is the other.
Mm-hmm.
Google it yourself. Do some research, 5 minutes. Actually, you know what? Encourage. But yeah, that's literally all that it is. And people were like, oh, voodoo dolls and American Horror Story. We're going to do it. It's a thing now. So fuck Hollywood and what they've done to paganism. Except for the craft. We like that one. Thank you.
So, all right. Let's jump into our next topic. Let's talk about just how easy it is to get like a healthy meal. How it's easier. How it's easy in some places, but then like you could go to other neighborhoods down the block and not find anything. So we sort of want to, also we want to thank Dominique for being on because she has some stuff to say about just the food industry, the agriculture, just in general. Dominique, where do you want to start?
So I just want to say, as someone who works in the agriculture industry and someone who's fat, I get looked down upon. And when people come into my office and they, have things that they want to talk about, the first thing they see is a fat woman, and they're like, wow, how does she know anything about agriculture or horticulture or healthy eating when she's fat herself? So that's one thing that has always bothered me, which also I do have a chronic illness that keeps me overweight no matter the amount of exercising that I do, and I've slowly put on weight over time. So for me, it's just kind of insulting for someone to say that to me. But it is, and it also is very difficult to eat a certain way, especially when you do have a chronic illness that doesn't allow you to eat everything that is available to you. So I have PCOS, and I have insulin resistance because of that. And it also turns dairy into carbs, into sugars, It turns dairy into sugars. I can't eat carbs. I can't eat anything like that. So if I eat something that is not good for me or is a piece of bread, I can gain so much weight from just one piece of bread where the average person won't gain all that weight. And having healthy foods accessible to me is something that I need for my health. And in communities that we live in, like I live in an area where 10 minutes down the road, it's the most beautiful part of Decatur you've ever seen. And then you go my way, and it's just a bunch of poor people. And so you have all these nice health foods that are within reach for me, but for other people who don't have transportation or people who can't make it to Decatur, they have to go for the gas stations and the McDonald's that's available to them. Now, there are grocery stores where I live. We don't really live in a food desert per se, but I live where there's grocery stores, but conventional foods are much more affordable than organic foods. So it's almost like healthy foods are just made almost completely inaccessible for people who don't have a lot of money, because you have to spend more money in order to eat healthy. And the reason why those organic foods cost more than the conventional foods is because the organic foods, there's a lot more labor that goes into it. Conventional foods, you can just spray pesticides on it, call it a day. But you also have to think about what people are putting into their bodies. So that conventional food that they're eating all that pesticides that was sprayed on that. And it just makes it very difficult for people to maintain a healthy lifestyle when they don't have access to these, Whole Foods or Sprouts Market and stuff like that.
Wow.
And it makes it even harder because, like, whenever these people are gaining weight because they're not able to access it, I've seen people who are overweight be turned down job opportunities. I've seen them be turned down, like, social opportunities. I've seen them, like, not just that, it affects your mental health as well. And, like, that within itself is making it harder to work. It makes it harder to get out and do anything, really, and to, like, challenge something, and challenge an environment that's built to, like, not see you succeed.
Yeah, and I'm a victim of that because just recently I went for a job interview. I'm not going to say the place, but I went for a job interview, and well, it was a Zoom meeting. So they saw my resume, they saw my farm work and stuff, and they were like, oh, wow, okay. So I get onto the Zoom meeting. They turn on the cameras, and I could see right on their faces that they were like, oh, you're fat. You may not be able to keep up. And they kept stressing throughout that whole interview of how much work that you have to do, how much motion, how much lifting and stuff. And I was like telling them over and over, yes, I know. The reason why I'm part of the reason why I'm fat is because I have an office job and I sit in an office all day and I would like to get up and move. I didn't say that directly, but I kind of said, this is the job opportunity I'm looking for. I like to be active. And like, there was no convincing them. Like, they literally were just like, okay, well, you got to do a lot of field work, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, I know this.
Yeah.
They literally didn't look at me, and they loved my resume. They saw that I had farm work on there. They saw that I had, agriculture work on there, and they didn't care when they saw me.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around nothing but curvy women. I mean, a lot of women in the Latina community have, beautiful curves, but my sisters were the ones who were not like so much blessed with like the beautiful curves as they were with like they could smell food and gain 10 pounds. And that made them the butt of a lot of jokes at school. Like, I believe one of my sisters was literally called Consuela. And that was so fucked up.
By the way, I'm not laughing at the joke. I'm laughing at the fucking name. Like,
yeah.
why is that? Anyways, continue.
Well, it was from the Family Guy because, she's
I
fake.
know, but still.
But
Lemon pledge.
Yes.
But basically, we need one lemon pledge. But they would like just make jokes all the time, and what they didn't realize is like two of my sisters struggled with like hormone disorders. They gained weight. Like they basically got to the point where they would starve themselves because they got picked on so bad.
Which makes
so
it
many
worse,
jokes
by
were
the
made.
way.
Yeah, which made that whenever they would eat, it made it 10 times worse. And we weren't offered like health care the right way because we came from a poor household. We didn't have like you've got 8 kids in one house, right? Like, and we were on food stamps. My parents worked like 3 jobs. You got to think about a mortgage for somebody who doesn't have good credit. How are you going to get all these damn kids around? When it comes time for shoes and school clothes, you got to pay for that 8 times. Like, you're poor as fuck. And we were in a single wide trailer. we were broke. Like, we were dirt poor. And my sisters were like, we had Southern cooking. Like, we gained weight. We were like all thick. Because whenever you got like $20 in your bank account until Friday and it's Wednesday, Burger King, McDonald's, dollar menu, like you're getting takeout pizzas and shit. Like that's $5 hot and ready.
I wanna ask Dominique. I wanna ask you, with you working in agriculture, how can we get healthy food into Black communities?
So there are some options. It's nowhere near at the scale that it needs to be in order to be completely sustainable on these sources, but as long as you work towards it, we do have a chance. So I work with master gardeners, and they are a group of people that we train to talk about pests, talk about how to grow food, and we train them to teach the community. So, and we also have children that we go into the schools and we talk about how to grow your own food organically for the most part. Now, we don't have a stance on conventional or organic, but we try to push organic because it's just better for you. And the whole thing about what I do is trying to make people have better health, or, just have them with better opportunities to be healthy. And so some of the things that you can do, the community gardens work. You have food pantries and stuff that work. Education is key. I can't stress that enough. If you educate your children, if the community is educated on how to do these things, then that's a way for you to get food. Now, you may not be able to grow food and have food all the time, but for you to be able to have food that you've grown organically takes off the cost of what it is to buy those groceries. So instead of you having, you know, a fuck ton of ramen noodles in your house, you know, you can have some ramen noodles for emergencies, and then have your cucumbers that you grew, and have your squash that you grew, and tomatoes, and cook that into a meal. We don't really stress veganism too much, but being a vegan would make it much easier to eat your own food as well. You know, I don't know how you would. I don't really know about like nutrition with vegan. I've tried it and I failed horribly, but there's a lot of different opportunities you can take. But the real issue is trying to have it on such a large scale that everyone in your community can benefit from it.
I really, really wish that this was something in high school or like even middle school or somewhere that was something like required. Like instead of learning like German and like French and shit, like what are you really going to use that for? Why couldn't we have done this? Or instead of math.
You know what's crazy?
Like
in Pike County, which by the way has an 83% as of 2016, it's 83% white. We had to take ag. Like we all had to take agriculture class. Griffin does not. But we did.
Neither did Luella or Henry
Clayton,
County.
yeah, Clayton County neither. Like,
Well, the thing is like I was lucky enough to learn in agriculture class how to do all of this shit. I not only learned how to do that, I learned how to can vegetables and to process those nutrients to where they were still reserved for whenever I was able for winter. I was taught how to layer gardening. I was taught how to like do all of that shit to where like I can grow. But you can grow, like, there's ways for you, there's stuff that they build for you to grow, like, tomato plants from the sides and from the bottom. So whereas you would originally be able to only fit one, you can fit three.
So it's crazy. It's crazy that in
A predominant,
in a white community that, like, that's sort of, like, forced. Like, you guys had to take that class.
Yeah.
In black communities, Clayton, like, Clayco, we didn't know. Like,
You know,
I've always seen, like, the building for it.
Yes.
But, like, it never, like... I don't know. Like, it was always unattainable.
So I remember at Luella, we in the back over by like the trailers, I would always see where they had the little pond with the ducks. It was ducks, right?
Yeah.
Chickens and chickens and shit. And I don't know why I looked at you. You didn't go to Luella.
we had field trips that we had to go on that were all about it.
So like I always saw that, but the people I always saw going into class were white, and they would have the boots and the camo and everything, and I didn't really see a lot of people of color going in there. I don't know if that was just a preference type thing.
No, I was in there with a Never Shout Never t-shirt on, skinny jeans, and a fucking chain on my
That's at Pike
belt.
where it was required.
Yeah,
Not
everyone was
Luella.
But I mean, you know, the thing is like they not only taught us that, they taught us how to measure out land, so you can survey your own land.
I don't even know how. I don't even know
No.
what that is.
Me either.
That's basically so you can tell which property is yours. So you know where you're allowed to farm at. They taught us about like planting trees around your house so that you can cut back on your light bills because shade provides more, you know, it keeps your house cool during the summer, which is whenever your light bill goes up.
Now,
They taught us about
These are all random Google facts. That's what it sounds
No,
like.
basically that's all what agriculture was about. They teach you about property and land management.
I had a home ec class where they taught me how to make nachos.
Was that an elective?
Yeah.
Yes.
But see, that's the thing. Ours weren't elective. We have to learn these things.
Well, you got lucky then.
I know that's super lucky because I grew up in an all white school. That's what I'm saying is like in an all white school, you get all of the things that make you like successful. That's so like
and that's just another way that you see that the system is rigged for
Yes.
people of color to fail.
Yeah.
Because they taught you and you know in your white community taught you how to do that. They never taught us how to do that. And like you said, the people that you saw going into the 4-H classrooms and stuff were all white people to where we thought that you couldn't be in there as a black person because it's racist. It's all the racist kids.
It's
go
crazy.
there.
Like they threw us in PE. You know, they threw us in band. All sort of
I
training
was
is
in art and
art.
Spanish.
all things to sort of train us to like be the entertainers that they want us to be.
Yeah, the most I ever did with anything that has to do with agriculture and food or anything was in like kindergarten when we had to do the pea sprout things. Or was that first grade? Kindergarten, first grade. That's the most I ever had to do with anything.
See, I didn't even have that because I grew up in Miami and in the city. We didn't have that. We didn't need that.
And I feel like, and so that was in Boston. And okay, our yards are literally like a bathroom space. Like,
You know what's
you have
crazy?
no yard. Like,
Even though we were in the middle of nowhere, we still got to learn. We still had the opportunity to learn about how to do a garden if you live in an apartment.
nope, never got that.
But see, that's why in like certain urban areas and stuff, we try to teach that now. We're trying to go more into the schools because there are kids who've never heard of the stuff that we talk about. Never in their life. They've never seen it, never heard it. And so our main mission is to teach the community about how to do these things, give them the same opportunities that the white communities were given from the get-go.
And like I remember we had a field trip to the farm in Boston. And when I tell you, I felt like we traveled years to get there because I lived close to the city. I didn't live directly in Boston. I lived outside of the city. But again, when we went to the farm, the farmers were white. The farm, like, it was just so far out. And like, to me, and I remember when I first moved down here and I first saw a cow just randomly, I was like, what the fuck? That's not a farm. Like, I'm thinking field trip, like you have to go like somewhere like far out.
Is it crazy that anytime I think of a farmer, I always think of a white guy?
Exactly.
I never think
a white guy with the system. Yeah.
And then
So I was gonna say, yeah. So Dominique, like, tell us about it. Like, black farmers is like a myth.
No,
Like-
it's definitely not. Clayton County, for example, there are so many black-owned and operated farms there that you wouldn't even believe.
Oh, I love that.
You don't. Atlanta Harvest is one. That is one where they grow organic, all organic. They have their own little stand where they sell the fruit directly, and they're like right there off of like right next to the extension office. Like they're right there. There's also there's another one, I can't remember what the name is, but it's a hydroponic organic farm.
Yeah.
This one's in Forest Park. And we just found out about this farm.
Oh.
So, like, there are all these little hidden gems in urban areas that no one ever tells you about because, you know, the system rigs us to not want to be healthy. And not that we don't want to be, but that they don't have us, or they don't give us the opportunities to be healthy.
Yeah.
So, and that's what the main problem is us being robbed of that opportunity. And so as a black agriculturist, I feel like I have to do my part to tell children and to tell adults about how you can maintain yourself by growing your own garden, or maybe try and buy from these local farms and stuff. And then there's also the whole thing where you can't get a job in the agriculture industry if you're black. That's a thing. We're trying to change that stigma as well. I mean, I have done farm work before. I mean, hands-on, pulling turmeric out of the ground, sweet potatoes out of the ground. With my fat self and chubby hands, I was pulling that stuff out of the ground. And I could do it. And that's the thing. We need to tell the children, and we need to tell the adults that you can do it. It doesn't matter what you look like, how fat you are, what color your skin is, and what you identify as. You can do it.
Oh,
I was
I
gonna say,
love that.
so what you're saying is that Michelle Obama was onto something when she changed like the school system,
Who
like
would
the
have
nutrition.
thunk?
So she got rid of fried chicken Wednesdays so that y'all could eat healthy.
I remember in Luella, they took out the vending machines.
Oh, my God.
I remember that was a disaster.
You know, in Pike County,
My
they
hot
took out,
Cheetos.
they only had to remove one vending machine because we already had more healthy options because a bunch of Karens wrote letters to the school.
Wow.
And
Oh, and that's another thing. So I feel
Yeah,
like
y'all's parents need to be getting involved too because our parents were
Hold
up there
on.
every single day arguing with teachers.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you had to say, and we're gonna get back to it in a second, real quick. But those same Karens are the ones that I see complaining about the whole thing that she did.
Really?
You know how many white Republican Karens complain about Michelle Obama not taking away
They only
the food?
complain about it because she's black, though.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But they complain about it to our school systems because they're like, my kids are fat. And meanwhile, they're like also fat and they're screaming. And we're like, maybe it's because you gave them fucking Cocoa Puffs before school today and sent them here with a chicken biscuit from Chick-fil-A.
have you been in a school like just in the past like couple years? So
I've had to pick up a couple of like my siblings, friends from school.
as in like no, actually like going inside the school.
Yeah.
like so
It's
these
uncomfortable.
these vending machines that they have, like I've never seen like these like reduced sugared, sodas, like the Fruitopias.
They're just as bad for you, by the way.
But you know, there are healthier. I mean, you can eat healthy junk food to an extent. So, like, if they wanted to bring back fried chicken Wednesdays, they could do that. If the government gave them enough money to get air fryers.
Or get peanut oil.
Or like a healthier oil option.
Unless
like, you don't have to
allergic to
deprive
nuts.
yourself completely of junk food. Well, quote unquote junk food. You can, like I was saying earlier, healthier options.
Right.
It's all about healthier options.
Well, you got to find that balance.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually eat like a fucking college student from the 90s. It's usually pizza and like ramen, instant ramen at that, and like, chicken nuggies. But like, I've been trying to switch
we learned that
it.
from the Thanksgiving episode. Trust me.
But you can eat pizza that's healthy. You can get pesto instead of marinara. Marinara is not bad if you don't put sugar in it. Like, there's options. And the thing is, people automatically assume that I know nothing about this. But, like, I've been in and out of the doctor for about 5 years now. I could be a damn nutritionist, the things that I know. But they don't assume that because I'm fat. And that's another thing I want to say. The medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, they don't care at all about poor people, specifically minorities.
Well, you're not the one who's helping pay for their bills. It's the people who can afford to keep themselves alive. And ultimately, like, your body is not reflective to your health either, by the way. Like, let's go ahead and hop on that real quick. Just because you're skinny doesn't mean that you don't eat. Just because you're fat doesn't mean you eat too much. Like, I've been told my entire life, like, eat a little more. I eat all the fucking time. Like, all the time. I have my sisters who were overweight, starved themselves. So, like, mind your business about what we're eating. I mean, come on now. And, like, maybe hire people over qualifications instead of, like, what they look like. Because that seems, I don't know, fucking stupid.
Yeah, I literally couldn't believe that when they looked at me and was like, well, you might not be able to do it. And I was like, I'm telling you I can. I worked on a farm. Y'all seen my resume. But okay.
God. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. That's fucking ridiculous. Jesus Christ.
That's why we're trying to pave a way for people who don't look like old white countrymen.
Yeah, just food for thought.
With the
Yeah.
Please.
And with that, Dominique, thank you for being on this episode.
Thank you so much. It was so
educating. This is a very informative episode. And y'all, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for a slice of your time.
Another podcast. Jesus Christ. Thank you for being here, Dominique.
Thank you.
Yeah, swallow the truth.
Listeners, once again, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Make sure notifications are turned on. Make sure that we're your favorites so we pop up.
Yeah, we're always cooking up something.
And let's chat in the comments.
Yeah, in the comments, stir the pot.
I'm just muting. I'm just gonna mute her. I'm just gonna mute her. We will catch y'all next time. Peace.
Bye, y'all.